Welcome, everybody, to Millionaires Are Made. Here we believe that you can be a millionaire in all the six aspects of health. We share tips that promote your physical, mental, intellectual, social, spiritual, and financial health. And today we are focusing on physical health and the topic of alcohol. Great personal one for me and my story, and I know our guests have great stories to share as well. If you've never seen Millionaires Are Made, this show is built on the fundamental belief that every single person you know knows something you don't, and there is absolutely something to be learned from everyone that you meet. So, in the spirit of authenticity, we don't talk about tips or advice before the show starts. We keep it real. There's no bias here, no persuasion, just three awesome people sharing their life journey. I didn't even know these guests until about 15 minutes before the show here. I'm filling in for Austin, who is going through a hurricane in St. Thomas right now. And I'm your host, Josh Perry. So, definitely want to give a shout out to our audience. Appreciate you guys being on here. And I want to go ahead and bring our first guest on, Albert, to share his tip.
Good morning.
Albert, how are you, man?
I'm fantastic. Glad to be here.
Good, good. Well, first of all, tell us, who are you, Albert?
So I'm Albert Chavez. I'm known as the Uncommon Man. I decided 5 years ago to deconstruct all these bad habits in my life, and I reconstructed myself into the man you see now. I'm a grandfather, believe it or not. I'm 52 years old. I'm a father. I'm a businessman. I'm a writer. I'm a coach, and I'm a speaker. And I've just taken the lessons I've learned, and I'm just helping as many people as I can.
That's awesome, man. Well, and as pertains to our topic today, physical health and alcohol, what's your tip for everybody in our audience?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, alcohol is this monster. So if you're dealing with alcoholism, you can't attack the monster up on its own. You have to build daily habits that eventually, let's say you have 10 bad habits, you can't address alcohol as number one. You got to address all these little habits so you can have the confidence that you can do what you say you're going to do, to commit to it. So when alcohol is that last bad habit, you can attack it then after you've built massive wins in your life.
Man, that's a great tip, to stack those daily habits. How did you come about this tip? There's got to be a great story behind it.
Yeah. So backstory is I grew up in a very violent household. So I grew up as a shy kid, didn't really express his feelings. And then I got introduced to alcohol in my teens, and a monster was created. I wasn't a bad guy. I just never learned how to control my emotions. Got married, had kids, was a very young dad. And eventually, the house of cards came crumbling down at the age of 47. I had to address the elephant in the room and the devil, which was me, which was I was projecting, complaining, blaming everybody in my life as opposed to the person that was creating this chaos, which was me. So I held the mirror in front of me for the first time, and that's when I exposed the true demon in my life, which was me. And then that's when I addressed all the issues by addressing the number one person I needed to love, which was myself.
Man, self-love is definitely a hard thing, and oftentimes we, just kind of cover that self-loathing up with alcohol or whatever else we can get our hands on out of desperation. So I definitely think that's a phenomenal tip, and glad you came around on your journey here to be on the show with us and help others. Great. Well, look, I want to thank you for your tip. I'll bring our next guest on, and we'll bring you back in the show here so we can kind of discuss and go over our daily challenges.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Albert. So our next guest is Tammy Vincent. Tammy, how are you?
I am doing great. How are you today?
Very well, very well. So, Tammy, tell our audience and everybody watching, who are you?
Okay, so my name is Tammy Vincent. I live in Florida. I have 3 grown children and a pug. And I'm also a certified life coach, a best-selling author, a speaker, and someone who grew up with 2 alcoholic parents. So I've seen this alcoholic mess for years and years and years. So, and now I've kind of turned my life around and made it really my mission to help the people that are struggling, or the people that have other families that are struggling, the people that want mental clarity, mental wellness, and physical wellness.
Yeah. So, sounds like you've more than kind of turned your life around with all those accolades behind it, Tammy. So very much appreciate you sharing that. As pertains to our topic today, physical health and alcohol, then what's the one tip you want to share with our audience?
I think the tip I want to share is that if you're questioning if it's becoming an issue in your life, or you know it's an issue in your life and you're trying to figure out a way to stop the alcohol consumption, you have to get to the root of why you started anyway, because if you don't, it's just going to move from one addiction to another. So you really have to go back and deal and heal the things that caused you to pick up that first drink to begin with. And it's possible.
Well, and that last part I really like, because oftentimes it seems, we tell ourselves a story, kind of like Albert was talking about, that something isn't possible, or that we need to cover something up. And so that's an interesting point. There's got to be a great story behind how you came across your tip, though, Tammy. Can you share with our audience how you came across that tip?
Well, I deal with a lot of people that are going through it, but I also went through both sides of it. I went through the struggling and knowing and the guilt of shame of drinking too much, waking up, feeling complete and total remorse for the things I said, the things I did, but also watching my dad struggle his own demons his whole life, and my mother die of cirrhosis at 42. So people say, how did you pick it up to begin with? Well, it's all I knew. And I didn't have the confidence, and it was a coping mechanism, but I had to go back, and I realized that, and go back and fix all those whys, why I started doing that in order to be happy.
Yeah. As you said in your tip, the root of the issue is the real big problem, and being able to identify that is half the battle. So thank you for sharing that. I definitely want to bring our guest Albert back on too, so we can kind of have a discussion here on our tips. And while we're doing that, we normally have 3 guests on the show, but again, Austin's battling a hurricane right now. And so I was originally booked as a guest, but have been a guest host several times, and just kind of wanted to speak to what you guys both have said here, and your tips is super relevant when it comes to getting out of the alcoholic state and replacing alcohol with self-love, and, as you said, Albert, building daily habits. For me in particular, I'm a guy who was drinking a bottle of whiskey a day every day for 6 years, 6 days out of the week, and almost killed myself with alcohol twice. And finally, have completely done away with alcohol. But to your point, Tammy, it was all I'd known. Like, I came from alcoholic parents. My parents were in the military, so a lot of alcoholics around as I'm growing up and stuff. And for me personally, I had to replace drinks with something else. And so for me, it was physical exercise, and I drink whatever I want now, just as long as it doesn't have alcohol. So I'm the weirdo at the restaurant who's going to have 3 drinks sitting in front of them, a Perrier and a coffee and a digestif type of mocktail or something. And that's how I've been able to mentally overcome some of that stuff from a sheer habit standpoint, is replacing it there with using the same addictive personality to my advantage, is the way I like to put it. So we've got a question here from Blakely that asks if we still drink. And I personally don't drink. Do you guys still partake in alcohol, either one of you?
I honestly do, but not, honestly, I think it was God's way of telling me to stop. I can literally have 1 to 1.5, and then I will vomit in my mouth at night. So I'm like, yeah, that's probably not a good thing. So but it's not like it used to be. I don't crave it. I don't want it. It's just kind of one here. I had Mexican food the other night, and I had 1 beer. Yep. Because that was with my tacos. You gotta, so yes.
So here's interesting. So a little backstory. When I hit rock bottom in 2019, I did what most men don't do. I reached out and said, I need help. And it wasn't with alcohol. It was with all the stuff that I was building up inside. See, people think alcoholism is about alcohol. It's not. It's about everything that you're dismissing or you're avoiding inside. And alcohol is just that little piece that activates everything. And so then I hired a life coach, and then I hired a personal trainer. Didn't know, I was still drinking, but I didn't know that it was leading me down this path. And then I would go on 3 months here, 3 months off, 3 months on, 3 months off. And it was this yo-yo. But it wasn't until 2022 when things were aligning to where alcohol was no longer, alcohol represented this evil I never wanted to be. So for example, this cup, I've objectified alcohol. This cup represents the old Albert of alcohol, this cup. So I can't drink that because then I have to take 15 steps back. And now I got to deal with the regret and all the stuff that this person represented. So I learned to objectify alcohol to where I don't drink it, not because I can't, but because it's not who I am anymore. So when people go through this phase of getting rid of alcohol, you're not getting rid of alcohol, you're changing your life perspective. And I had to build a character, this avatar. And this avatar wasn't anybody that drank. He had a beard, he had muscles, he's ripped, he looked a certain way, and that characteristic of alcohol didn't exist. That was my process.
Yeah. I could definitely relate, and kind of my answer to that, even though I don't drink, I think it's important to note, I literally enjoy being in a bar still. Like sitting at the bar is where I typically eat. I've been involved in the entertainment industry as well as, doing a lot of business and stuff. And so, business meetings typically happen there. And I actually like being in a bar, and I like that social situation. For me, it's just the physical consuming of the alcohol that I'll regret later, because I'll drink the whole bottle. You know what I mean? I can't have just one. It's like Pringles for me, once you pop, you can't stop, is the old, commercial.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for your question, Blakely, and I hope that answered it. We've got another question here from the audience from Saba that said, what's your go-to tip for reducing alcohol intake?
You don't want my answer.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, if you're really trying, it's just, you can make it a non-negotiable. Just, I will not, because I will die. And sometimes that's what it takes for people. But for reducing, I think being very aware of your patterns when you are drinking, have people that are trying to lose weight, have a food diary, have an alcohol diary. Like, why did you pick that up? Why did you pick up that glass of wine? And you'll start to see habits, and you'll start to see patterns. And also, I know kind of what I've helped a lot of people too, is people associate alcohol with a fun time, with going to a party or going out to a bar or holidays or festivities. But if you think it's a problem, there's probably just as many times that you can associate it with a negative experience. So try to anchor that. Try to remember, okay, so this is going to be a fun time, and I'm going to open up and be more talkative and everything else. But I'm going to feel horrible, or I'm going to be mean to my children like my father was to me, or, just anchor it to something that is more negative, and you will think through the process, and at least you'll pause before you pick it up.
Yeah, this is a two-part answer. So if you're a man, this is my honest opinion, and you're drinking, you're dropping the ball, especially if you're married with kids. Men that drink aren't safe. They're not secure. And they create an environment for their family that's chaos. So if you're drinking, you're creating the chaos in your life. I remember I was sitting like this with my therapist, and I was going off and on with drinking. She's been sober for 25 years. And she asked me a question that changed my life. Didn't know at the time. And she's like, Albert, why do you drink? And I said, oh, I'm a lender. Like, industry does it. I feel good. I just kind of feel like I open up a little bit. And she stopped me in my tracks, and she's like, so you need to drink to have fun? And I looked at her and I go, no. But that question really was the question that every time I went out is, why do I drink? What's the purpose of it? And a lot of it was peer pressure, but it was this self-esteem that I was dealing with. and it was the lack of self-respect. So if you're a man with kids and you're married and you're getting drunk and acting a fool, you're ruining your reputation and self-respect with your family, and you're creating a sense of chaos and insecurity with your family because they can't trust you, because I guarantee you when you drink, you have regret afterwards. So the tip really isn't about reducing alcohol. It's asking yourself, why do you drink and what's it doing to you as far as internally? That's the main question you want to ask yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about valuing yourself for sure. And spoiling yourself, so to speak. Right. And that could go either way. If you're drinking, you're spoiling yourself in a rotten way. Right. And if you're not, then you're spoiling yourself with, the goodness of life. Feeling. So we had a specific question for you too, Albert, from Mike Penny Morris, that said, can you recommend an exercise that helps with detoxing? Obviously, you see you're in pretty good shape.
Absolutely. This is going to blow your mind. You're not going to like this, Mike. When you have the urge to drink, drop down and do 300 burpees and tell me if you want to drink. Or I got a better exercise. Go get hammered and do 300 burpees and tell me how you're going to feel. It's not about detoxing. It's about really, you're looking for a dopamine that exists in your body. Because after you do 300 burpees sober, without drinking, that dopamine you're looking for, that high is so high because at 100, you want to quit. At 200, you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. At 295, you're like, damn. At 300, you're like, hell yes. And that 90 seconds of dopamine is greater than any drink you're ever going to drink. That's my answer.
Yeah, I love that. Great answer. I don't know that I'll be sitting down to do 300 burpees anytime soon.
Right.
For me personally, on the exercise thing, so I've had a major lung surgery, and sitting down and doing 300 burpees is virtually impossible for me.
Correct.
My physical muscles can handle it.
Yeah.
But, just my windage can't handle it, right? And so I subscribe to, and I do this literally every day. I do a 3 to 6 mile walk every single day. And it's a way for me both to get that physical aspect out, but I usually have headphones in, and so I'm just tuned into the rhythm of the motion, right? And that really does the thing for me, because I'm in very heady conversations. I work in M&A and marketing and stuff, so I'm dealing with very complex situations, and or even on my music stuff, it's pretty involved, right? And so stepping out of that to get very basic, and what you're talking about is the same kind of burpee principle, but just scaled back a little bit on the physical portion, because again, you're obviously in better shape than I am. We had another question from the audience that said, how do you balance social life and sobriety? Tammy, I'd love to hear from you on how you kind of balance that.
To me, I would say that you need to know your support people. I think there's so much shame and stigma associated with alcoholism and substance use disorder that people don't want to say, hey, group, I'm trying to cut back, or I'm only going to have one, so be my support system. But I think, that's a big one. So know that, first of all, find activities. I always choose activities that don't involve a lot of drinking, honestly. Let's go bowling, and instead of meeting for drinks, let's meet for beach yoga or something. But I think it's very important that when you're in the social situations, that you have that support system, that people understand, because if people are like peer pressuring you to death, they're not your people. They're not. So, it's like, there's going to be, when you are drinking a lot and then you stop drinking, relationships are going to change, because there's going to be those people that are not going to understand. But you've got to, I think, find those people that do understand. And also, eventually you will have the confidence in yourself that you're going to have fun without a drink in your hand. So make fun mocktails. I have a client who, she goes with her 9-year-old daughter, and they make new mocktails because she doesn't drink anymore. So it's a fun thing for her to do with her friends. So I think that's a lot of it. But so much of it is the support system that you have.
Yeah. So interesting question. I remember when I hadn't decided to stop drinking yet. That's the key. I hadn't decided yet. The decision wasn't made. And I'd go out and I'm not drinking this week. And drink, come on, buddy, drink. And I was like, all right, whatever. It wasn't until I decided, again, the question is the wrong question. It's about sobriety and social aspects. It's who do you want to be? When you decide who you want to be and how you show up, your question is answered. Because if you want to be, don't even think about sober. Who do you want to be? Does that person drink or not? And why? That character that you have is so important. And the reason why you're struggling with that question is because you're trying to get validation of when you should and when you shouldn't. So when the peer pressure comes in, you need to feel validated by your friendships. You're looking for self-esteem support. I'm telling you to have some self-respect support. Respect yourself and what you want and who you are first. Everything else will come to place. Because when I go out, for example, I've taken friends and girlfriends to wineries. I'll take a Red Bull and I'll take a seltzer, and I literally will pull up and take these people they're drinking. I'm like, no, I have my own seltzer and Red Bull. Do you mind if I put it in a glass? Sure. I'm having fun with them with my Red Bull or my seltzer. I'm not taking away from the social aspect. I'm just not drinking alcohol. That's a decision you have to make. So am I drinking or am I not, and why? It's your principles and the self-respect aspect of yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I do a lot of the same thing. I was actually at a Chamber of Commerce event not too long ago. And my go-to is to have a Dr. Pepper with a lime in it, or a Coke with a lime in it, right?
Amen to that.
It's like a Cuba Libre. Or in a celebratory aspect, if everybody's like toasting champagne or something, I'm going to get a Perrier or some type of sparkling water and just have it in the same glass, right?
With lime, exactly. Me too.
Sparkling grape juice or whatever is socially appropriate in that situation. And again, I mean, I'm in a bar most nights of the week for my talent management business and the music stuff that I do. So like I encounter this situation a lot. And as you said, it's more about the self-respect and the choices that you're making. And you could still engage with the group. I promise you, I have just as much fun as anybody else, if not more in a lot of cases, because I am able to engage in particular in that conversational piece. And you know, I'm a guy who coaches people on social health, right? So, you know, that self-respect portion is so huge. And going back to what you were saying initially, you know, building those daily habits around how you handle those situations is really a big thing there. So, well, we're kind of coming up on my actual favorite part of the show here. And every show that we do a daily challenge. And so this is just something that's really easy, takes 10 minutes or less, that we can do every day to improve on the topic that we're talking about here. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you think a daily challenge could be that we could give to ourselves and our audience participate in as well, to kind of help us with this physical aspect of alcohol. And Albert, don't say 300 burpees, because I'm just not going to do that. It'll take more than 10 minutes.
I got something else for you.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Albert?
Go for it. You can go. Ladies
Okay.
first.
I was going to say, just find something that you enjoy outside of it and take 10 minutes and commit to it. Something that gives you a sense of empowerment or freedom or just peace, and commit to doing it every day, whether it's 10 minutes of meditation or 10 minutes of yoga, or just something that gives you a sense of peace.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I got two things for you, but I'll make them simple. So someone like yourself who may have some health issues is just drop down and do 100 push-ups or something that's going to get your heart rate to where you're moving your body. What I learned about men is when we inflict stress in our own, the self-inflicted stress in our life, we love solving our own problems. And part of the problem is that when we're in this negative mindset, the only way you can get out of it is two ways. Number one, self-inflict this personal pain on yourself. Maybe it's 100 crunchies, maybe it's 100 push-ups. And sometimes that doesn't work. So the next thing I would say is that if you're feeling low, send a text out to 10 people you know and tell them to have a great day. Hey, you're in my heart today. I'm thinking about you. Giving away what you're seeking is another way to get energy that you're looking for. Maybe you're feeling low with love. Tell someone that you care about, 10 people. Look, you're in my heart today. I just want to tell you I love you. When you give away, I got the chills right now talking about that. When you give away that piece of you,
Yeah.
you give away that piece that you're looking for, you're going to get it tenfold back.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, man. I think that's what we should move forward with. The challenge is just give away what you're seeking.
Love it.
You know? And 10, I think if everybody was to take the time and tell 10 people what they were truly seeking in a way that is, you know, have a great day or you're amazing or whatever the case may be, like the world would be a much, much different place. And our internal world would be a much, much different place. So I think that's a great challenge to move forward with. If you guys are good with it, to give away what you're seeking to 10 people through just a text message or short message every day. So, but yeah, that concludes our show. I want to thank you guys both for being on and thank all our sponsors for what they do to contribute to the show. Albert, we're going to leave Albert's book link in and social links for Albert and Tammy if you want to connect with them and dig in more on these tips here. Myself as well. So really, really appreciate you guys. Actually, you know, before we end the show, there's somebody who just jumped in the chat that said, can't imagine life without a dream. I need help. Yeah. And I can't end the show with that as the last comment without really addressing it to 10 who's in the chat there. If you need help, I speak for myself, but I think I speak for everybody here that if you really need somebody to talk to and want to work through that, we are all available to do that. And you can get through it. I was at a point in my drinking where I physically could not go without a drink and had to go through DTs for a section of my life. And this is, you know, just in the past couple of years that this had happened. So I think we're all three more than willing to reach out to you and help you make that journey as well, because it is not an easy journey. And I think all three of us here can really attest to the challenge that it is, but that the challenge is absolutely worth it on the other side.
Amen to that.
Yep.
So 10, you know, please do reach out to us. I'll reach out to you, have our team reach out to you after the show as well, so that you can get connected and we can see about helping the 10. So, but millionaires are made, and they're made every day through tips just like these. The 6 aspects of health are really, really important, and physical health being our topic today. Thank you guys so much for being on. Really, really appreciate you, and have a great rest of your day.
Love it.
You too. Have a good day.
Thank you.